Ladies and gentlemen,
what you gonna do, brother?
Oh yeah!
Woo! What?
If you smell what the rock.
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
What's up, everybody? It's the Big Alboski. It's Professor Keith. It's around the Turnbuckle and it's Father's Day. What's up, everybody? Happy Father's Day to all you dads out there, all you stepdads out there, all you father figures, all you godfathers, grandfathers, whatever the hell you are. Happy Father's Day to all you. Keith, I know you're an uncle to a lot of people, so, happy Father's Day to you too, my friend.
Well, thank you. Well, I would be a godfather in one case, but they don't really believe in it, so it's like...
You are the godfather.
I feel like it still counts, though, because if they tell you if we believed in such things, we would do it, you get it. Oh, hey, Shango.
What's up, Mr. Shango? All right, so listen, let me tell you something, Keith. Last night, the boy and I went out to dinner, and then after that, we went down to Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and we caught some live local wrestling in Lebanon, Pennsylvania at the Eagles Hall. We saw some hardcore. We saw some mayhem, CCW and Valor Pro Wrestling style. We saw Rob Noxious and his bunch versus Truth Serum. It's a new heel thing in CCW, Keith. Truth Serum with Mr. Shango and his tag team partner, the tag team champions, along with your boy, PJ Walker. Yeah. And Delicious. They are called Truth Serum. So, yeah. Solomon Nasir. Sorry. I apologize. Can't call him Shango. Got to call him Solomon. Call him by his right name.
Well, now he should also call himself by his right name, though. Too,
By the way, Solomon went through a table at the finish of that thing covered in thumbtacks.
Why?
Ask him why. I don't know why. Ask him why. I'm not sure.
What I'm doing.
But there was some other great.
I appreciate the commitment, but goddamn.
My boy JT Funk took on Mr. Ping in a traditional title match. Really good match. Mr. Ping successfully defended that. There was all kinds of action. It was a great night. We had a good time. A great venue. That Eagles Hall is a nice place. It's a nice venue, wide open. Everybody was spread out. It's really nice. And we had a really good time. It was a good show. Good to see all the guys. I didn't get to catch up with some of them, but I did catch up with some others. And, it was great to see everybody back at CCW and Valor again live. I hadn't done that since last year when we went to the outdoor show in Marysville. So thank you very much, Solomon, and all you guys at Truth Serum. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very sorry.
Right. And big shout outs. Big shout outs to Mr. Ping and Rob Noxious and Stefan Ramon and Adrian Bliss and all the guys from CCW that came out, had a great show and tributed to a lost friend. That was really cool. They tributed to a friend of theirs that they lost, and that was really cool. So, yeah, everybody had a great time. It seemed like everybody had a great time. Speaking of great times, this Saturday, your boys will be at the WWWA Outdoor Free Show 31st anniversary show outside of Q-Mart. Bring a chair. It's free. It's a free show. It's their 41st anniversary WWWA down in Quakertown, right outside the Q-Mart. So go to Q-Mart. You know where it is. If you're local, go to Q-Mart. Go all the way down to the left-hand side of the parking lot, and there's a big open area. They will have a wrestling ring. They will have some great, fantastic matches. A lot of guys come in for the anniversary shows. A lot of guys that that the local crowds haven't seen in a while. A lot of people are speculating who may or may not there. Your boy, Miami, Merrick Miami, issued an open challenge. You know about that.
Yep, I do.
But I'm not going to mention his opponent's name because I don't know if they've got that booked or not. But I'm just saying, It's exciting. I'm saying we're going to go down and see. I'm going to take the whole family this time. I'm going to take. It's a free show, so we're just going to take a bunch of chairs like we're going to the drive-in and sit down and relax and enjoy some great local wrestling. By the way, if we're about anything on this show, we've said it forever, right, Keith? Support your local wrestling. You live in Jersey, head down to Tom's River, all right? Head down. There's wrestling everywhere. Trenton, there's wrestling.
Northeast, you're spoiled for wrestling. There's
Allentown area, there's wrestling. Big Chris Vant from Carolina, there's wrestling in his area. There's wrestling everywhere. So go out and support your locals, because without them, this art form dies. And that's my opinion. Happy Father's Day to you too as well, my brother. Suns won the game one. Suns won game one in the NBA. Western Finals in the NBA started tonight. It was Suns in the Western Conference Finals versus the LA Clippers. So it looks like Suns took game one there. Thanks for that update, brother. We are going to check out Sixers. I'm wearing, Keith, a SummerSlam 92 Wembley Stadium t-shirt, which I just received minutes ago for Father's Day from my wife and the family, along with a couple of Eagles tumblers. And it was pretty cool. It was a good Father's Day for me. In case anybody wondered. So you wanted to talk about tonight. You wanted to talk about what exactly?
So I believe what we agreed to was we were going to talk a little bit about the anniversary show, and hopefully some of the guys on there might want to show up and maybe talk about some things too. And I think you had an idea, since it was Father's Day, we should talk about fathers in wrestling. Now, the only thing we didn't talk about on that is criteria, because what do we consider a successful father in wrestling? Were you actually a good father and your kids don't hate you and got into the business? Or are we looking at it as
because that list will be short and you know it.
Yeah.
That list will be short and you know it. What I'm looking for are wrestlers whose kids ended up becoming good wrestlers or may become good wrestlers. I'll give you an example right off the bat. Cowboy Bob Orton, who will be at the Legends of Hamburg Professional Wrestling Fan Fest, as you see scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Cowboy Bob will be there live in Hamburg at that Fan Fest. Get your tickets and info at www.legendsofhamburg.com. Cowboy Bob Orton's son, Randy Orton, had a pretty damn good career, I'd say.
I think Bob Orton did too. Bob Orton, I think, is a little underrated, to be honest, because I think most people just remember the WWF run and they don't remember the territory run. You have Rocky and Dwayne Johnson.
Rocky and Dwayne, of course. Absolutely.
I mean, the most successful, I think you would have to say, is Stu Hart. Because Stu Hart got just about every one of his sons in the business, and all of them had varying degrees of success. All of his daughters married wrestlers.
Yep.
You know, the Harts are legendary. The Guerreros. Another great wrestling family. You know, starting with Gory and Chavo Classic, Chavo Jr.
The Von Erichs. I'm going to just throw that out there.
Yeah, the Von Erichs.
I mean, to me, the fathers of wrestling are guys whose legacy not lived on long after they're gone and continues to live on today. I mean, you know, it does. And I mean, people don't forget the Hart family legacy, the Von Erichs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can go on. You got the Andersons, all the Andersons now. Brock Anderson has now made his debut in AEW, so we're going to see how that goes. We don't know yet. We can't be fair.
The Andersons, it's an asterisk, because the Andersons, most of them are not related to each other.
But okay,
it starts with
how about the Armstrongs?
The Armstrongs are, yes.
There you go.
But with the Andersons, I think it was Gene was the legitimate Anderson, and then everybody else was kind of brought in, and Gene blessed them and gave them the Anderson name.
Still, Brock Anderson is Arn Anderson's son, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so that.
And you got the Nature Boy Ric Flair and Charlotte.
Yep. To a lesser extent, David. I mean, I think David. We never found out what David could do, to be honest,
right?
Because he was rushed. And by all accounts, Reed was good, and unfortunately, just, demons.
God knows if Reed would have had Chris Vant mentions the Rhodes, of course, Dusty Rhodes. absolutely. Dustin,
Yeah, Dustin's
Cody.
phenomenally underrated. Cody, Cody and Brandy just welcomed their first child, who may or may not have signed an AEW contract already. I don't know.
I was going to say the same thing. 20 years from now, we're going to be talking about that kid.
We're talking about that kid on, they're at least 19th year under an AEW contract.
And me being a Macho Man Randy Savage fan, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Angelo Poffo and Randy and Lenny Poffo.
Yep.
So there's a lot of fathers out there, a lot of fathers of wrestling out there. But yeah, I mean, who are the greatest? We already mentioned them. We mentioned the Von Erichs, the Harts, the Rhodes. I mean, it goes after that. It goes from success and fact to opinion and who you like and who you don't like.
Well, no, because I would throw the Funks in there. You can't deny the Funks as well. Were absolutely, influential and great family. The Grahams as well, Eddie and Mike. Unfortunately, both under tragic circumstances took their own lives.
Right. Chris is going to throw the McMahons at you. I know you're going to.
You know what? He's right, but he's right though. You have to. I mean, the McMahons not, known for being in ring, but Vince is a third generation promoter. His grandfather promoted boxing at Madison Square Garden and a little bit of wrestling. That was Jeff McMahon, got the ball rolling, and of course Vince Senior. Vince
and then Vince
and James McMahon,
and now Stephanie and
Shane. And it'll be Stephanie and Hunter primarily, and I'm sure Shane will have his say in it too. So I mean,
isn't Shane kind of more like talent than anything else?
I believe Shane is officially talent now. I don't think he has any stock or anything in the company. He's kind of doing his own ventures right now. Right. I mean, from everything I've heard, basically the succession plan right now is Triple H and Stephanie with Kevin Dunn in a corner shitting his pants and praying Vince lives for a very, very long time. Isn't that right, Bucky? That's right. Vince gonna live forever. I need this job. Get your fucking teeth fixed.
Happy Father's Day, Uncle Earl, to you as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is Around the Turnbuckle. We do this each and every Sunday at 6 o'clock. Keith and I were doing it every Saturday and Sunday. But Saturdays lately, Keith, have been hard to book because it's great. Because I'm not complaining because the wrestlers are getting booked more and we're getting to go to more shows. And that's what it's all about to us. Speaking of that, I'm going to make a public announcement right now. We have a wide open calendar for the first time in a year. Normally I book 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time, even a month ahead of time. I have a wide open calendar for anybody who's interested in coming on here and telling your story, whether you're new to the business or whether you've been doing this for 20 years. We love to hear your story. We love to share your story, and we love to give this platform for you guys to use. So please, please, please send me a message anytime. I will get back to you. If you send it to me in the middle of the night, I'm not going to promise I'll get back to you that same night. It might be tomorrow, but I'm just saying. Look at the bottom of your screen one more time, Keith, before we move on. WWWA's 41st anniversary outdoor free show. It's free professional wrestling, guys. Local free professional wrestling in Quakertown, PA. Everybody within the sound of my voice in the Lehigh Valley can make it to this thing because it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. It's outdoors. The COVID restrictions are out the window. Nobody's wearing masks anymore. A lot of people are vaccinated. That's great to see. Crowds coming back to sports. Crowds coming back to wrestling. This Saturday, get your asses down to the Q-Mart on the 26th. Circa what, Keith? I think it's like circa 5 p.m.
I think it's a 5 or 5:30 bell time, they said. Yeah. I would have to look on Facebook again, or maybe if somebody can come on here.
Get there early. Get there early. Get a good seat.
Yeah.
And sit down. Bring the kids. Bring a cooler with some water or some beer or whatever, and see a great wrestling show, outdoor free event. It's always loaded with surprises. Dino Santa does not disappoint when it comes to surprises when he has these anniversary shows. Guys that haven't wrestled in WWA for a very long time come in and do him a solid, so to speak, and it's usually a great time. Everybody has a great time. Our boy Merrick Miami has issued a challenge to a certain wrestler out there in the Indies and making his way around. And hopefully he shows up, but we'll see all about that. Chris Vant says if Roman's the biggest ass is Roman the biggest ass in WWE, bring Lesnar or Cena back to beat him. There's a Roman hater. Keith, how do you feel about Roman and the head of the table gimmick in general?
I've been a big fan of it personally. I think Roman is the best thing WWE has. I think turning him heel was inspired. He's working with Paul Heyman, and he's got Michael Hayes and Paul Heyman booking his shit. I mean, how do you not fail? I'm not the biggest fan of the whole head of the table thing. I don't know how you sell merchandise. I understand what they're doing. I think it's, again, the verbiage is Vince verbiage. And, I think sometimes Vince, takes the highway when he really should take the country road shortcut when he wants to say something, because he just has that need to sound smart and the smartest guy in the room and put words together. And I'll give him credit because, he's laughing all the way to the bank with. I mean, he'd come on this show and go, yeah, well, how many millions did I make off of doing that, pal? And how much are you making? And fair enough. But I sometimes think Vince shoots himself in the foot with, not always being clear on what the message is. I think the tribal chief thing works a little better. But again, that's the same sort of deal. Like, aren't you putting a hat on a hat when you say tribal chief? Don't we all kind of know what you mean by chief in that context? But
this comment where Chris says bring back Lesnar and Cena to beat him, to me, is a Vince way of looking at things. That would be like that's what Vince used to do. Instead of building a guy or building this kind of building this star or heel in this case, bringing a guy like Lesnar or Cena back to beat him. It's just him is the old as Vince used to do, fall back on the Cenas and the Hogans of the world and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Roman's your franchise right now. Even though he's a heel, he in a lot of ways is the franchise. It's Roman and it's Drew, in my mind, that are pulling the cart, and they're the guys that for the next 5 years, 10 years, they're the guys. Whatever they wind up calling this era, those are going to be the guys you look back on. Like you look back on Randy Orton and John Cena, they were carrying the ball post, from the brand extension to about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they were the guys.
Right.
And now Roman and Drew are going to be the guys.
I'm not sold on Drew as a face though, man. I'm not. I like I'm with you on Roman. I'm with you on Roman and this whole thing. But I mean, who have they built to get that title off of Roman eventually? Because I don't see they built anybody.
Well, they're building Big E right now. I mean, that's obvious. Big E is going to be, and should be, I think, the guy that, ultimately gets that rub. Because it's not like Roman's going to die when he loses the title. It's not going to destroy him or do anything terrible to him. But you do need to get to a place where it is the next guy. It's the next man up when Roman gets beat. You don't go backwards and go, oh, I need to protect him with it being Lesnar. I need to protect him with it being Cena. He doesn't need to be protected. He's built. Losing is not going to kill him. Right. But you got to make that next star. You got to make that next big major.
Whoever takes it off after all this build, whoever takes it off him, it's going to be a big deal. Big shout out to Mike City right down there. City lives. Hello, gentlemen. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
Mike was last night, man. He was off the charts. He was good. He wrestled, I believe it was Andy Header, I think. And he lost, but in a losing effort, kudos to him. It was a great match, great show. Those guys. And then he came out later on with Ed House. Ed House had a match, and he was ringside. Little extracurricular activities there after the match. But Mike City, I got to shake hands with the man, got to meet him in person finally, Keith. Also, he met my son, which was cool. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
Chris Vance says, when we watched back in the day, no champ held titles for a year or more. When's your back in the day? Because my back in the day, Hulk Hogan had it for 3 fucking years.
Yeah,
Nobody wants.
I'm not as far as that, but I'm back with Yokozuna is the
Well,
first
Stone
one I
Cold Steve
remember, and
Austin.
Yoko had it for nearly a year.
If he's talking Attitude Era, then yeah, they would
Yeah.
hold it for no more than a year, and that's it.
But you were also loaded with talent at that point. You had Austin, you had The Rock, you had The Undertaker, you had Bret Hart at that point, you had Shawn Michaels for a little while, and I mean,
We
Bret
had a lot of main guys.
But at the beginning, you had Bret and Shawn. You had Taker all throughout. You had Rock built up. Mick Foley got built up to that level. Triple H got built up to that level. You had 4 or 5 guys that could credibly hold the title. And that never really happened before. That is not how wrestling is traditionally built up.
Right.
Your territory is traditionally the heel champion, the babyface challengers who go after him.
Cases.
And not all of those guys are going to be at the level where you're going to put the title on them. You just need to believe that they're going to get the title, because eventually one of your baby faces is going to be the guy that gets the title, hold it for a bit, however long, and then is going to lose it because the money was always get the belt on the heel, and the baby face has got to beat the heel, and then you don't book that match anymore because we've seen it. We've seen the baby face get his revenge and get his win and, his Rocky moment.
And that's my thing. WWE hasn't built anybody on SmackDown. All right. We know Drew's kind of got Raw lockdown, so to speak. And they have Bobby Lashley as champion right now, and Drew's kind of chasing him. They're doing that thing right now.
Right.
But like Hell in the Cell is tonight, and they haven't built anybody that I'm going to believe is going to beat Roman Reigns.
And I mean, I think part of that too is sometimes it's the issue with the smart fans, and the smart fans kind of know what's going on, but it's also the bad way WWE books, is that WWE telegraphs that people have no chance. Like, go back to the Hulk Hogan era. You probably were pretty goddamn sure that King Kong Bundy was not going to take the title from Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 2. If we're honest, you probably knew that. You probably knew that even if you were a kid. You had that feeling.
I was a little less new that Andre was going to win.
Yeah, but they went out of their way to create a situation where Hogan was in peril. They had Bundy, break his ribs and everything else. And they did just enough to maybe give you that idea of, but Hogan's going in hurt. But Hogan's not 100%. Maybe Bundy can sneak one out on him, especially because WWE cage matches weren't pinfall or submission. They were escape the cage. So if you're just really good at running away, and I mean, I don't know how much people would say King Kong Bundy was ever good at running, but, you understand the principle of it.
Chris Vance says,
one second before that, I love, because it reminded me of a story that Cornette tells about Ernie Ladd, what Ernie Ladd used to say about Bundy, because Ernie Ladd thought Bundy was the shits, so he would go to Bundy in the back all the time. Bundy, you're stealing money. You're stealing all the money, Bundy. You're stealing every time you're in that ring, Bundy.
Chris Vance says, it's sad that the talent has lowered so bad, no talent. The tribal guy could beat Roman, huge guy. Bring back the big guys. That's the thing.
I don't see it as talent. It's booking.
Right.
Bad booking will make a great talent look like shit. Terry Taylor was garbage in the WWF, not because Terry Taylor is garbage. I can show you a million hours of tape before and after the Red Rooster run of Terry Taylor being a good wrestler and having good matches. But the problem is, they brought him in, they called him the Red fucking Rooster, and they dyed of his hair and slicked it up. Like, nobody was going to get that thing over. It was not going to happen. It was DOA, and they didn't do anything to help him. Right. So the same thing, like, people will talk about Shawn Michaels and go, oh, but Michaels was small and Michaels got over. Yeah, because Vince fell in love with him. Because Vince decided, oh, that's how I saw myself when I was that age. And that's what I wish, my dad had let me do. So he was kind of living vicariously through Shawn. And, that wasn't a good thing for a lot of reasons. But the point is, the boss got behind him. If he had kicked Jannetty through that barbershop window and Vince McMahon of now was booking it, I think that would have been the highlight of Shawn Michaels' career, because Vince wouldn't have gotten behind him. He would have gotten wishy-washy on him, and he would have just been 50-50 booked into oblivion. He would have
explain WrestleMania 30 and Daniel Bryan.
What happened with that is Bryan is one of those guys that just, and I think this is also the advent of the internet and the smart fan, and there are reasons to absolutely loathe the advent of the internet and the smart fan. But this was one of those moments where it was a good thing, where people watched Daniel Bryan and they knew what he could do, and they knew he was better than the booking, and they knew he was a talent, and they would not allow WWE to deny him. The fans made that happen, because when you look at that, Vince was trying to cool him off every which way he could. He didn't want him in that main event, let alone give him the title. There is no way on earth he
let
wanted
alone beating Triple H in the first match and Randy Orton and Batista in the last match.
Exactly. He wanted Randy Orton versus Batista. That was his idea of a great WrestleMania 30 title match main event. And Daniel Bryan could just, go fuck off in the undercard somewhere. because Vince has never been about the steak. He's been about the sizzle.
Right.
But Daniel Bryan, I think, is that rare guy that he managed to get. Obviously, he has the fans that just love the in-ring technical aspect of it, but he managed to find his personality and project it outwards. And that's what wrestling is really all about. That's what I keep saying. It's one of my biggest criticisms of some guys on the indies is that we're worried too much about acrobatics, and did I get my shit in, and did I hit, my 75 dives with a twist and a half gainer, and it's like, okay, that's great, but a lot of other guys can do that too. Why do I care about your dive with a half gainer more than I care about the other 5 guys that probably did it on the show too? You've got to be able to get your personality out there and connect with the audience. And that's what that brand did. And when you do that, you are undeniable at that point.
WWE was good with the Extreme and the tables and ladders matches. What happened? The thing is, what?
PG happened in a lot of ways.
PG happened.
PG happened, but also look at how many guys from the Attitude Era are banged up, can't work anymore. Like, look at how many neck surgeries.
Or in wheelchairs, almost.
Right, because this was my point, and it's still a problem, is that there are even smart fans, and this one I'm going to air quote smart, that you understand the business is a work. You understand that these guys are trained to do this stuff.
Right.
But you somehow improbably think that you can jump off a ladder, through a table, onto a concrete floor without a mat or anything, and it's like landing on a trampoline.
Right.
That somehow that doesn't hurt in any way, and you can't possibly get injured. That they've just figured out how to do this. Guys, stuntmen in movies have accidents. Fire stunts are dangerous. Okay? Freaking Kane Hodder, that's Jason Voorhees. He's been a stuntman for 30 years. He one time got burned so bad he almost died doing a stunt. And I'm not saying it's the same, jumping off a ladder is the same as doing a fire stunt. No, it's not. But my point is, it hurts. It all hurts to some degree. Just getting slammed in the ring, just running off the ropes hurts.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Everything hurts.
I'll tell you this. Last night at CCW, there were some matches that I know hurt, especially that main event, and they did it in a way where they weren't jumping off of 10 or 15 foot platforms through things. They did a suplex, which is gonna hurt, of course, but I mean, you're doing a suplex off the second rope through a table, in a manner of speaking. And
they have better recovery time. They're not going to run a show again for another few weeks.
Right.
Guys can heal. You can heal up from that kind of stuff. In WWE, it's not feasible to do that.
No, they wrestle 3 times a week.
Right. More. You wrestle 4 days a week usually.
Right.
You are on the road 300 days a year. You only have 65 off days a year.
Especially now, they're
And-
opening up house shows again.
Right, and we're going to go right back to it. The schedule is a little better, but in the 80s and in the 90s to a degree when they were hot, you're doing all this stuff on a Monday, and then you're potentially going out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday doing the exact same thing. It hurts, and it adds up, and that's why it's not feasible to have in WWE with what WWE's schedule is, to be able to say, like, hey, we're going to go have, nothing but hardcore matches, or we're going to have some kind of crazy gimmick everywhere. Plus, if you overdo it, it loses its appeal. It just becomes something you do. And that's what I think a lot of these pay-per-views have been doing that.
But that's what wrestling is, what sells. WWE is almost not worth watching anymore. These guys make a ton of money, and lower level guys make nothing to do hardcore. We agree with that.
I think it's a problem.
We agree with all that. But
I
is,
also say those lower level guys are adults, and they do have the right to determine what they want to do. Do I wish that they would not do the kind of things that they're doing to themselves? Absolutely, because the money's not there, and if there's not a camera on you, if you get to the place where you are in the bigger leagues, you've taken a lot of bumps that you can't untake, and you've potentially shortened the time that you're now going to be able to go out and make the real money. But
you're right, Chris. You're right, Chris. That kind of stuff did sell. It made it really hot and really popular. But they were doing a lot of that stuff because they were in
it. And
they were doing a lot of that stuff because they were in competition with WCW, and they were trying to one up everybody. They were trying to one up ECW too eventually. So I mean, so the fact of the matter is now, and we talked about this last week. Now, ever since 2001, it's gotten more and more and more and more watered down. And now it's just like we can do whatever the hell we want because we don't really have competition. They don't look at AEW as competition. They just do whatever the hell they want.
It's not.
Red Rooster was my uncle's favorite.
Somebody is everybody's favorite. That's all I can say.
I like the Red Rooster's little feud with Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Maybe your uncle saw past the gimmick and saw Terry Taylor and what Terry Taylor could do.
If Roman loses, who beats him anytime soon?
To me, it's Big E. Big E has obviously been the project.
Big E.
So when you're ready to do it at this point, Big E is the guy you should be pulling the trigger on.
He's the only guy. I mean, I don't think there's anybody on the roster that I could believe that's believable to me to beat him.
Yeah, I mean, who
they've even watered. I mean, they've watered down. They've watered down the Kevin Owens and the Nakamura's and the Baron Corbins of the world.
Yeah, Nakamura is done. Kevin Owens is a Steve Austin ripoff, and he's had how many matches with Roman where he can't get it done?
Right. Seth Rollins.
I mean, I think you could get Seth in there, sure, if you wanted to, but I don't know. I think it should be, honestly, like I say, the development has obviously been Big E. I think that's where you pull the trigger. I think it's Big E. You've got to make a new star when you take the title off Roman at this point.
Now, speaking of
on Roman that you have, that's got to go to the next big star.
Speaking of AEW, did you want to talk about Ospreay or no?
He's not signed to AEW. He's NJPW.
NJPW. I apologize.
Yeah, they have a working agreement. I mean, and that goes back to what I was saying about, you've got to have you cannot have reckless regard for your body. I understand that guys like that go off kind of a Daniel Bryan model, because Daniel Bryan wrote about that in his book, is they believe in the art form of wrestling, and they believe in, you go hard and all of that. But there comes a point where you've got to say, how hard do I want to go? The point of working it the point of it being a work in the first place, and them going down that route was so that you could be safer, so that you could do these impressive things, and you could go out for a beer afterwards. They didn't want to hurt each other. They didn't want to have to go an hour, 2 hours, shoot professional wrestling matches at the turn of the century. There would be like 5-hour contests. and it wasn't working because after a while, people are like, this was great about an hour ago, but we're on hour 5 here on this one match, and I'm thinking I got other shit to do.
Yeah, but that's why a lot of the indies do everything in like 10, 15 minutes.
But the problem with what a lot of these guys do too, and this goes back to my point, is you are killing yourself, and you are not you are killing yourself because you didn't learn how to connect with the audience, and everything hurts. Hulk Hogan has a terrible back and leg surgeries, and you would go, well, why? He was fucking Hulk Hogan. He didn't do anything. Well, he did that leg drop, and Hogan said that. If I could go back, when he's asked, if you could go back and change one thing, what would you change? And he goes, I wouldn't do a leg drop as a finish.
Right.
Because a leg drop will destroy your body. Matt Hardy can't wrestle anymore, basically. Or
he can barely walk.
Or he's getting close to it because of all the leg drops off the top rope. His leg bone is literally fusing into his pelvis. They're becoming one bone because of all the time.
Why is there no Roman versus Lashley?
I think that's a money match you can do. The thing is, you got to turn one of them. Who are you turning?
At this point, I would turn Lashley.
And right now, why would you turn either of them? To me, that's working. That's a drawing card I have in my back pocket that I can do down the line. That's where the brand extension is a good idea if you do it correctly and you keep these guys apart for longer periods of time so you don't burn through all your matchups. And that's the other problem, too, is that during the Attitude Era, everything was hot. And you had 4 or 5 different main eventers, and you could cycle through them so quickly and all the different matches and all the different possibilities, and you could still make a ton of money. And you don't have that now. You hot-shotted everything to death. You drove most of those guys out. You did everything you could humanly conceivably do, and everybody saw it. And now, by necessity, you have to come back down from that, and you have to rebuild everybody and rebuild everything. And the audience isn't necessarily going to tolerate it because they're like, well, I want to go back to chaos. I want to go back to, when guys were driving beer trucks out and craziness, and I want the thrill of the first time again. And it's like, but you can't. The first time is the first time, That's why when they do things from the Attitude Era now, people just groan and go, well, I saw that already.
Woo! AJ Varga in the house. What's up, Big Anthony? Happy Father's Day to you as well. Thank you very much, my brother, for tuning in. Big shout outs to Chris Vant and Big Mike City and all the guys that have been tuning in or have been chiming in with their comments. Keep them coming, guys. It keeps the conversation rolling. I'm gonna switch gears real quick. We're gonna talk about tonight's Hell in a Cell real quick. Keith, I'll go down the card for you. But before I do that, look at the bottom of your screen, fellas. WWWA 45th anniversary. Anthony, get the kids, get the chairs, head to Quakertown on Saturday, June 26th at Quakertown by the Qmar Outdoor Show 41st anniversary. Big shout out to Mike City and Rob Noxious and Truth Serum and all those guys for a great show last night in Lebanon, CCW. We'll be looking for you further on down the road as well. Big shout outs to you guys for a great show. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Also, go to www.legendsofhamburg.com for tickets and information on all the legends that are showing up, and the list is a mile long. Legends of Hamburg Professional Wrestling Fan Fest, July 24th. Keith and I will be there with an Around the Turnbuckle table with some merchandise. Keith, my wife's making T-shirts. She's making water bottles. She's making all kinds. She's making mugs.
Nice.
It's great. It's awesome. So can't wait to see everybody. We can't wait to see everybody at the Legends of Hamburg Professional Wrestling. After that, we got Outbreak Wrestling at 6 p.m. at the Hamburg Fieldhouse. Going to be a good show as well with our boy, Mean Mark Best and company down there for Outbreak Wrestling at 6 p.m. So get your tickets, get your information at www.legendsofhamburg.com. We are going to switch gears now and talk about WWE Hell in a Cell, 7 p.m. tonight at Peacock. And I mean, on Peacock, I hate saying that, Keith. I love saying the WWE Network. but it's no longer a thing. So
Well, not for the United States anyway.
not for the United States
They
anyway. So
sold us down the river.
So it starts in 20 minutes. So let's quickly go down the card for you, and I'll get Keith's predictions on all these matches. The WWE Championship will be contested in Hell in a Cell match between champion Bobby Lashley, challenger Drew McIntyre. Who's your pick, Keith? Who you got?
I mean, I haven't really watched any of it. At least with this one, I can credibly believe that it has probably gotten to the point.
Anthony, yes, he will be there.
It has probably credibly gotten to the point that you could do a Hell in a Cell match. You need to blow it off at this point. Logic would dictate if we're blowing it off, the babyface should probably win. Because, I mean, who else is there for Lashley to fight? That's the other problem. If you're going to blow it off, if Drew gets beat, what does Drew do? If Lashley gets beat, where does Lashley go? What does Lashley do? You know, neither guy to me seems to really have the next hot challenger, and that's the problem, is that there's just no forward thinking or planning in the company. It's just recycling everything month after month after month and put a new gimmick, put a new stipulation on it, and tell people that it's fresh and new. It doesn't.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Lashley keeps the title only because Drew, they can do different things with Drew. Drew doesn't necessarily have to be, he could still chase him, but I mean, maybe there could be some chicanery, maybe not. Maybe somebody starts another feud with Drew. Maybe there's somebody that shows up and kind of helps Lashley win, so to speak, keeps the heel champion, and we move on. But usually Hell in a Cells, you and I like to see Hell in a Cells as an end to a feud.
That's what they're designed to be.
And if we're ending this feud, I don't see how taking the title off of Lashley ends this feud, because if you do that, he's going to want it back, and that keeps it going.
I mean, what I could see them doing, and again, I have no inside information on any of this, you're headed towards SummerSlam. If you've made a deal with Brock Lesnar at this point, if you made a deal with Brock Lesnar, you know what? Drew beats Lashley, Lesnar comes out, F5's Drew, and we're off to the races for SummerSlam.
There you go.
Your rematch.
All right,
let's do it a second time.
Let's keep the ball rolling with SmackDown Women's Championship. Bianca Belair versus Bayley in a Hell in a Cell. I believe it's only the second female Hell in a Cell match of all time. Sasha versus Charlotte being the first, right?
Yeah. Why? Why are we doing it other than just to say, look, women can go in Hell in a Cell too?
I think they're doing it to show a different tough side of Bianca, like to show like Bianca can. Yeah, because Bianca's going to keep the title.
Yeah, she's not losing. It's way too early to take the title off.
Correct.
Whether
After
you like
everything she's been through,
she's not one of my favorites. I've never been super high on her, but
really,
there's
dude,
no way you take the title off Bianca.
Really, dude, come on. Sixers are winning tonight, and then they got a little something in the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Oh, by the way, anybody that put money on Brooklyn, and you probably did, you lost. He's always rubbing me the wrong way with the Sixers, and he hates Philadelphia sports. Thank you very much, Chris. I love you. All right,
but
anyway.
At this point, there's no reason to put the title on Bayley. Bayley's there as a placeholder until they get whatever the next big challenge for Bianca is going to be. Maybe Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch, I'll take that. But in the meantime, I think I agree with you. She retains. Okay. So then we got Rhea Ripley champion versus my girl, Charlotte Flair, for the Raw Women's Championship.
Obviously, Rhea Ripley should win because Rhea Ripley just won the title at WrestleMania. However, the Charlotte Flair effect, you can never rule Charlotte Flair out from winning just because Vince McMahon has transferred his man crush on her father over to Charlotte and needs her to be a
15-time women's champion tonight, baby. Locked and loaded right there. For the Queen will win her 15th title tonight. Sorry, Rhea, but she'll get it back.
Yeah, and then all her momentum will be gone.
No, she'll get it back tomorrow on Raw. There'll be some chicanery. Charlotte gets the title, but then Rhea gets her rematch tomorrow because She didn't really lose.
And meanwhile, you've lost another part of the audience that goes,
Woo!
one of the reasons I got,
You didn't lose nothing.
one of the reasons I got pissed off at this shit is because of the same people keep winning the titles over and over again, no matter what, and everybody new gets crushed and their momentum gets crushed because they're losing when they shouldn't be losing.
So you're picking Rhea, right? You're picking Rhea Ripley.
I'm saying Rhea should win if there is a God and there is some kind of justice within WWE booking still. But again, because Charlotte Flair is involved, there's like a logical booking force field around her that just seems to be like logic says Charlotte wins, and then Charlotte just goes, "Nah, Flair, I win."
Interesting enough, there is a third female match booked. You have the SmackDown Women's Championship Hell in a Cell match. You have Ripley and Charlotte, and then you have Alexa Bliss versus Shayna Baszler, which this storyline's ridiculous, but how much more can they bury Shayna Baszler? I think Alexa Bliss just wins this match.
I think my soul dies. I used to love Alexa Bliss.
I know you did. You were way on her.
And they have buried her so far. I think they've actually put her somewhere around the Earth's core.
The answer to that question is an emphatic yes, Chris. But I'm doing a wrestling podcast, so I'm talking about the pay-per-view, so I don't have to watch said pay-per-view.
And the only reason that Shayna Baszler is down further than Alexa Bliss is because they're allowing Alexa Bliss to put her boot on Shayna Baszler's neck. And also, too, do you put it past these motherfuckers to debut tonight that Alexa Bliss's doll is alive and get somebody to play whatever character this is? And at that point,
I don't put anything past them. You know that. At this point, I don't.
If that happens, right now, every WWE fan that is shit on TNA, and even though you shit on TNA, Impact, whatever, shit on them justifiably, you're not allowed to shit on them anymore.
No.
If that happens, you can't shit on them for any of the dumb shit that they do or have done, because that is some Dixie Carter Impact bullshit if they do that.
All right. I got a message from JT Cage directly that says, "I'm sorry that I got this a little late. You guys are probably wrapping up soon, so all I'm going to say is, Roadblock, I'm coming for you." That's a direct quote from JT Cage of WWWA. Roadblock, I'm coming for you. Dog collar match this Saturday between Roadblock and the United States Hardcore Champion of WWWA, JT Cage. So big shout out to JT Cage. Big shout out to JT Cage and the Hat Guy. Good luck this week. You're going to need it.
Yeah.
All right.
Those two guys could make curing cancer unpopular.
And then, just for shits and giggles, we get Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens for the 600th time. Why?
I think I remember hearing that one of them's contract is up. I think it's Sami. And at this point, if I'm Sami Zayn and I'm WWE, I don't want to work together anymore.
Right.
He's not happy. They're not happy. Nobody's getting anything out of this deal of any value at this point.
That's not horrible to say, Chris. Horrible to say, but a Game 7 trumps the pay-per-view? An NBA Game 7 should trump the WWE pay-per-view.
Especially because aren't you the guy sitting here saying the same thing we are of basically we wish it was better because we don't want to watch it.
He's saying it's sad, though. I think he means sad to say.
It's sad, yeah.
It's not horrible to say. It's sad to say.
Yeah.
It is sad. Then you got Cesaro versus Seth Rollins, which I like this feud that they got going on here. They got some great matches out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, logically, Cesaro should go over. You should finally push Cesaro, because that's another guy that's like a Daniel Bryan, where no matter what terrible crap you've done to him, where you've tried to throw a bucket of water on him, anytime he gets any kind of fire or momentum behind him, the audience is still ready to go for him. push him now because I think if you throw another bucket of water on him, he's going to be Dolph Ziggler. He's going to be the guy where it's like, yeah, I'll watch his matches and I'll be really happy and I'll be into it, but I know you're never going to do anything with him. So, fool me 700 times, you're not fooling me 701. If he gets a little momentum again, I don't care. I'm not going to believe it because you're just never going to go with him.
Anthony says you can't say Trump.
You should probably
you can
avoid
say
it.
Trump as a verb, Anthony, not as a proper noun. So that's it. That's the card right there. That's WWE Hell in a Cell. They're keeping it short and sweet.
And they should, and I appreciate that because I don't think you need more than 5 or 6 matches. I think a pay-per-view needs to go 3 hours or less and out, especially when it's not a major show. I think there'll be some great wrestling on this show. I think people will work hard. I think the booking is going to be suspect, and the wrong people are probably going to win, or if the right person does win, they'll turn around and do something stupid in a week or two to negate it. And I hate being this negative, and this is part of why, early on with the show, we said we don't want to talk about WWE every week because I said, at least me, everybody's going to hate me because I'm going to be here every week going, it stinks, it stinks, it stinks. I'm going to be Jay Sherman from The Critic, John Lovitz's old character. I'm just going to be like, it's terrible. And even if something good happens, I'm not going to be able to get happy about it because too many times I've run around and gone, oh, wow, they did this. And that's the turning point. And it's going to get better now. And it's going to be great. And then in 4 weeks, I'm like, why did I believe that? Why did I fall for it? I'm smarter than this.
All right, my man. Thank you, guys. All that chimed in. Anthony Joseph,
Yeah,
Chris
really
Mann,
just
Mike City, CCW, WWWA, all the guys that chimed in tonight. Thank you very much. We appreciate you when we don't have a guest and we like to just talk wrestling. We appreciate you more so when you come on and you throw your 2 cents in. Speaking of shows, Keith and I are off next Saturday for a very good reason. WWWA 41st anniversary outdoor free show. We will be there Saturday, June 26th, Quakertown. You got a dog collar hardcore title match. You got the Brick House Club. You got the original family. You got surprises. You don't know what's in store. You have no idea. You got Merrick Miami with his open challenge. So who knows what happens.
We got Tony Batista again.
Tony Batista with a title match. Go, Tony. Big shout outs to Tony Batista. Go get him, brother. Go bring the title back home to the USA. Oh! Just kidding.
Great honeymoon present would be to bring that title home.
Legends of Wrestling, Legends of Hamburg Fan Fest is Saturday, July 24th. Get your tickets and information on www.legendsofhamburg.com. Big shout outs to everybody else that was in tonight. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Keith, any parting gifts?
Again, I just want to echo thank you for coming on the show because with these kind of shows, it's much better to have questions to respond to, even if I don't necessarily agree with you. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's better than me
Most of the time you don't.
Yeah, it's better than me just getting up here and, shitting on WWE and AEW and anything else and trying to turn it into something funny and not just like, oh, he's cranky again.
Go Sixers! And Keith and I will see you next Sunday on Around the Turnbuckle.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you gonna do, brother? Oh, yeah! Woo! What? If you smell what the rock